conversation series on building resilient relationships. I'm Mandy Pallock, and I'm delighted to be here with Dewey Novotny. Dewey Novotny is the founder and co-author of Life Purpose Planning. It's a tool that helps young adults discover and define their individual God-given life purposes, and he's been involved in youth leadership development for over 4 decades, and he's absolutely always ready for a deep conversation. So Dewey has 7 adult children, all launched into their own areas of impact and influence, and he's now retired from a career in the Air Force and in aviation, and he's still asking questions and still building relationships. And so in addition to stating all those things, I'm delighted to call him my dad. So welcome, Dad.
Yes, it's wonderful to be here. Thank you very much, Mandy. I've been a long time admirer and a fan.
I like it. So, Dad, when I think of you, I think of someone who's persistent and who's loving and who's always looking to take something deeper. And as you know, most listeners of this conversation series, they're mentors involved in life-to-life ministry and everyday conversations, whether they're a parent or a teacher or a loving person wanting to reach the next generation. And we're here to learn from visionaries like you on ways to build those resilient relationships, ways to have curious conversations with those God brings into our lives. And specifically, I'd love to have a conversation about how parents and mentors can shepherd their teens and young adults toward purpose-related conversations. What do you say?
Well, you brought up some nice characteristics, but you forgot the one that motivated me the most, and that's desperation on that. And in fact, I suppose it was so desperate that you might even call me a desperado if you took that character trait all the way down to its basic element.
That's fantastic. So we have this combination of need and a little bit of desperation, and good stuff comes out. So, Dad, I'm really curious as we get into this, what does it look like for you? What did it look like for you to have conversations with your kids about life purpose?
Well, it's a great question to connect a couple of these dots because the thought that comes to mind was your older sister when she turned 18. And I had been very busy. She'd been very busy. And there were a number of things I didn't know, but I observed. And as around me, I saw her getting ready to make a very important decision in her life. And she was struggling. I picked up on this because I saw the puffy eyes that I thought, well, she's been crying about something. And I saw the tissues piling up in different places. And in my wise consideration, I thought, you know what? There might be a problem here. So trying to find something to do, because one of the best things about a problem is it activates something in dads. You know, a young lady could kick this off by suggesting to her dad, Dad, I have a problem. That's a great way to get a response from Dad. But I was there. I knew I had to do something. I didn't know what, but it required a little bit of time and a place. So we scheduled some time together and we went up and we began to have a conversation. Now, what was interesting is that I didn't have a whole bunch of answers for her. I just had questions. And what I found out was that questions are a great place to start when you don't have answers on that. And prayer is a great thing to slide in there between the questions and the answers that you're seeking. So first thing, would that be helpful for you to tell you and your audience kind of how we stepped through this?
Oh yeah, that'd be super helpful.
Okay.
Yeah, give
All
us
right.
give us that 60,000 foot overview.
Well, first thing we did was sit down with a bunch of blank sheets of paper.
Excellent.
In
I
my
remember
case,
those blank sheets of paper.
yeah. Do you remember what color they were?
Most often they were yellow.
That's right,
Those
because
yellow legal pads.
I work from yellow legal pads. That's kind of who I am, and I need something written down so that I can look at it and try to sort answers out of it. One of the places we started was hey, what have you been doing? Because
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what God's doing right now in your life or what he's got planned for your future, but I know he's not been waiting to get started because I've seen
Mm-hmm.
him do great things, bring you in contact with great people.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen passion, I've seen delight, I've seen enjoyment. I
Yeah.
know he's been at work.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
we
asking
start,
that question, what have you been doing? Okay.
yes,
I like it.
let's just start right there.
Yeah.
So what have you been doing over the last couple of years?
Mm-hmm.
And as she gave those, I wrote them down.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, and I would add a little bit. So, what have you been doing that you enjoyed?
Mm-hmm.
What have you been doing that you didn't enjoy?
Mm-hmm.
What have you been doing that caused you to grow a lot?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what was interesting was that there were probably more things that she did not enjoy doing that caused her to grow a lot,
Sure.
more of those than the delight oriented things that caused her to grow a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
So there we were. We started out with a long list of things and then the follow-up questions on it. So if there was each one of those activities, we went through, we circled the enjoyment.
Mm-hmm.
We marked the ones that she didn't enjoy and put a little star with those that caused her to grow the most.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The questions that followed up, hey, what elements made this enjoyable to you? What were you doing? Who was there? Uh, what skills were you using at the time? For those things that she didn't enjoy, the follow-up question that seemed to produce some information that was useful was what was missing that would have made this more enjoyable for you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, maybe it was people, maybe it was the activity, maybe it could have been anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I found that uh, she enjoyed doing some things, and when those things weren't there, she could tell.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and she wished they had been there.
Yeah.
Uh, some other things on that. So, what'd you enjoy? What'd you not enjoy on that? What caused you to grow a lot? Okay. Well, I wanted to know what were the elements of growth. Now,
Mm-hmm.
the follow-up questions that seem to work with her and with you and with I've found the rest of the kids and other young people and adults on that was to follow up. One of the things that was important in I think the relationship was to affirm what I was hearing and
Mm-hmm.
confirm it as well. Hey, I
Mm-hmm.
have seen that. I've seen that here, and I could throw out other examples on it, and I would jot those down.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that we ended up looking for was kind of a golden thread. How do all of these activities and people and delightful methods of service or
Mm-hmm.
ministry, how do they all tie together?
Yeah.
That, okay?
Yeah. So I
Um,
hear you not just asking the questions, but
mm,
you're actually looking for opportunities to unpack why, unpack how, unpack in what way, and then take it deeper as the conversation progresses.
well, that's true. And
Hmm.
I also realized that when I heard her say some words, she didn't mean the same thing that I heard
Oh, like what?
necessarily.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, she might say, you know what? I really enjoyed being around. Uh, well, let's just say this. What if she had said, I really enjoyed fishing?
Okay.
Okay. All right. I love fishing. That
That's your
means we're
thing.
going, we're going to Alaska with all my fishing buddies.
Yeah.
But when she said fishing, she might mean working with another group of people
Yeah.
on that. She might have meant she loved the serene settings that it took place in.
Hmm. Hmm.
She might have even meant that the part that she loved the most was cooking them and conducting hospitality as a
Yeah.
result of having them. Okay, so
Yeah.
a great question then, and I would offer for your audience is, hey, I heard you say this. Can you help me understand what you meant when you said
Mm-hmm.
such and such.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I want to see all this from her perspective or a child's perspective,
Mm-hmm.
son or daughter on that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Now, here was something interesting. If I ask that question, uh, can you help me understand? Or if I asked a different question, can you tell me something that you really, really enjoyed doing with a group of people that you really, really were crazy and loved so much?
Yeah.
You might hear a common answer is, I can't think of anything.
I
Okay.
don't know.
No, I don't know. And a good follow-up question there that keeps the conversation going is, yeah, that makes sense. We're looking for something that God might be calling you to do with all of your future and all of your talents and all your energy. It's going to be
Mm-hmm.
tough to find that. And you might not know. But what if you did know? What do you think that would look like? All right. And so that often, yeah, I'm always surprised the people I sit with that don't know that when I ask them, yeah, but what if you did know? They
Mm-hmm.
got an answer right there and permission to jump in with it as well.
I love
Okay.
it. I love it. And you also give the space for that thinking, that contemplation, because these are really big questions and some of them we don't know the answer to right off the top of our heads. And so even by asking that question, well, what would it be if you did know? It's a fresh opportunity to keep thinking about it.
It is, and as a parent or as a mentor, I can take some pressure off of them answering and give them a little time by looking at my little yellow pad or my notepad
Mm-hmm.
and maybe
Mm-hmm.
maybe jotting down something interesting, something delightful, something
Yeah.
affirming on there.
Yeah.
And it just helps them to have a little space, a little time
Mm-hmm.
to consider.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that you're looking for a golden thread. And
Mhm.
my experience in, doing this process with you too is that we're looking for trends. Like you're looking for that overall theme, not the one outcome at the end of a career questionnaire. That kind of idea. You're thinking, okay, wait, what's the trend of this so far? Where has God already been at work in my life? What does that look like? And when I look at maybe these 7 different opportunities I've had, and I think about, well, why and where and how, I really start to see, hey, look, this is the trend that I see in my life, and that's can give me direction for my next steps or what I'm interested in.
I think that's right
Hmm.
there. And there's some other things. This would maybe be an obstacle that we can avoid throwing in while
Yeah.
we're doing exactly what you're talking about.
Talk to us.
And well, you want to use caution trying to act like a parent and doing that parental thing. Okay,
Ooh.
so suppose that the example was, you know what, I really like working with the family. And the question might be, well, can you help me understand why or what you like doing with the family, why that's that way? Now, if somebody said, well, you know what, I just really love them so
Mm-hmm.
much. Now,
Mm-hmm.
my parental response activator might kick in, and I might be tempted to respond and say, love your siblings? Are you joking? How can you say that based on how
Mm.
you treated your little brother just this morning?
Yeah.
And I've said a lot of wrong things, but I can describe what happens next that
What
you want
happens
to
next?
avoid. You know, a young person's trying to find purpose. They're trying to find a doorway to the future.
Yeah.
Uh, a parent is pursuing the heart of a son or daughter. And you have a chance to open a door to that
Mm-hmm.
until you do that parent thing. And then what you find is you're standing at the door and the doorknob just disappeared because they just pulled it in and it's like, I think that kind of shut things down. So
Yeah.
it, you can learn from my mistakes. So
Oh, like that is a
um,
surefire way to shut down that conversation. If that's what you wanted to do, congratulations.
yeah, I have my top 3 or 4 too. I might be able to Awful.
That's
Hey,
so
so
helpful though. Yeah, it's
mhm.
so helpful. Kind of leave some of those conversations for another day and keep
Oh
things
yeah.
focused
Hey, you got
and growing. Hmm.
very good. Remember, you
Yeah.
got that yellow pad.
Yeah. I
Maybe
like
you
it.
make a little note, but
Yeah.
maybe you just file it away in your parental file,
That
not
makes
your
sense.
mentor file.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so
Mhm.
Dad, I love this because I've had this conversation with you. I know you've had it with, my older sister and younger siblings and things like that. And I know that you also have gone on to have types of these conversations with thousands of other young people who are working through, well, what am I supposed to do with my life and why does it
Mhm.
matter? And so
Mhm.
that process of life purpose and defining life purpose and then looking at it and then launching into it. So if a parent or a mentor wanted to have a conversation with a teenager about life purpose, where would they start? How would you explain it to them in a way that they might be able to start the conversation?
Nice. Well, number one, it doesn't have to be complicated. It
Ooh, I
can
like
be
it.
very simple
This is right
on
up my
that.
alley.
But let's also think what the basis of what you're trying to discover. There's three great questions in life
Hmm.
for every young person on there. Uh, where did I come from? Why am I here? Uh, where will I spend eternity?
Yeah.
The first question is the question of origin.
Hmm.
That third question, eternity, is the question of destiny.
Hmm.
But the focus we're talking about is why am I here?
Mm.
And it's about life, but more than that, it's about an abundant life.
Hmm.
This is most helpful, this conversation, if it's considered as a faith building conversation. It's
Hmm.
got that basis in faith. You're trying to find what is God calling them to? What's he been doing? The idea is not what am I paid for
Hmm.
as I move forward? It's like, what am I made for?
Hmm.
And we recognize that we have a worldly context often that we're sitting in. A young person can be very busy just doing what the world is doing. Okay.
Hmm.
It might go something like this. Hey, get an education, son and daughter. Get a good education. Get one of those great schools. Okay.
Hmm.
Then go get a job. Get a great job. Make all you can all you can, and did I say I'm retired? Yeah. Then, then sit on your can. So on it. Uh, Again, there are two. So one, consider that context. Step
Hmm.
away from that context. Not so much what we want our son or daughters to be doing that reflects well on us.
Hmm.
Okay. But what would you have them do that reflects well on God and
Hmm.
what he's calling you to? Big
Yeah.
discoveries, breakdown. You're looking for their audience, people that they truly care about.
Hmm.
You're looking for them to employ skills, gifts, and talents in a delightful way that brings them enjoyment. And you're looking for a message to share with them,
Hmm.
a message of faith, hope, and love. That's a life-changing message.
Hmm.
So it's about life, but it's about purpose. And if I was going to try to define it in a faith base, let's just say that purpose, a God-given purpose, is God's invitation to us and to our children to join him as he works in us and through us and for us to do at least three things,
Hmm.
to bring him glory and honor. The second thing, to meet the needs of people that we really care about.
Hmm.
And the third thing is to experience joy in the process on that. So, you know what? I've probably ran off in a direction there. Uh, do any of those You want to jump into any of those any further,
Yeah,
or
I love it. Okay, so we were talking about like if somebody said, "Well, I want to have this type of conversation with someone, a young person that I'm mentoring," then you were saying, I'll just state it back, that you start talking about like, well, the goal then is to help this young person kind of identify who's the audience that they care about and what's the message, the testimony that God has given them to
Mhm.
share with that specific audience. And then what ways might they do it? What's that method? And then when they've identified those three things, your audience and your message and your
Mhm.
method, then they're well on their way to living out that life purpose. Is that what you were saying? Would you agree with that?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And if I wanted to pour all that into one question,
Yep.
okay, it would be a question, maybe something like this. And you would never ask this specific question, but it uh, all at once because
Hmm.
it's just huge.
Okay.
But these are the pieces and the elements that you want to break down. What skills, gifts, and talents has God given you
Hmm.
that you would delight to use in effective service to somebody that you really and truly care about?
Ooh, I love it. Okay, ask it one more time because same
Okay.
words. We just like to hear some things twice.
All right. What skills, gifts, and talents has God given you
Hmm.
that you would delight in using to effectively serve or minister to a group of people that you truly care about?
Yeah. You know
And
what's great about that question is there's no age limit on that question. You know, that's a question that a 53-year-old or a 42-year-old or an 18-year-old are all seeking to answer.
well, you want to know a really crazy part?
Let's hear it.
Even a retired guy like me recently sat down within the last week with that very question in mind.
Hey, I
Okay.
love it. Anything new? Anything not new?
Maybe the next call.
Next time, next time. I love it. I love it. Let's keep talking. That's awesome.
But you
Um,
know what?
yeah.
I would say uh, that there's a couple steps that you're looking for in here on that, and it's uh, I don't mean to throw a bunch of lists at you, but you know the first one sounded like discovery, didn't it?
It does.
Okay, okay.
Hmm.
What do you do next? Well, the next thing is to equip wisely to accomplish
Hmm.
what's revealed on
Yeah.
there.
Because I don't know what training I need yet if I don't even know what I love yet. So that discovery is that first stage.
It's true, and
Hmm.
to see that the things that you do love are elements and evidence of God at work in your life in the past.
Yeah.
Okay, calling you to something specific on that. It's going to be a specific people. It's going to be a specific activity.
Hmm.
Uh, there's probably a specific message in
Hmm.
there.
Hmm.
So there's discovery, and there is equipping to accomplish, and then there's launching to go out there and accomplish it. So and more. Okay, go ahead. Next thing.
Yeah, I love it. So then as you are just telling someone else, well, how do I have these conversations with my young person?
Mhm.
Um, bearing that in mind, maybe what stage they're at. Are they at a discovery stage? Are they at an equipping stage? Are they at a launching stage? Because that is then going to kind of focus the type of conversation that you're having.
Yes. You
Hmm.
know, we as parents have in most cases limited resources, limited time, limited money on
Yeah.
that. But yet we are stewards of each one of those things. And so it's only with understanding that I believe we can truly respond in a wise way. That
Mm,
there's another benefit to it. If I'm working with somebody, uh, working or encouraging or affirming anything like that, a son or daughter to go out there and do something, most of them have an idea what their contemporaries are doing and might feel like they're just going to do the same thing.
hmm.
Okay. Uh, if you, as a parent, have a different idea,
Hmm.
you won't be able to sell that unless your child believe that you understand them and understand
Mm,
what and why they're trying to accomplish something.
yeah.
If we understand, most of them are open to a better idea than what they have
Hmm.
available or have come up on their own.
Yeah, yeah. If I feel like it is a conversation
Mhm.
that, someone does want to know me and know my heart, not just tell me what to do. And
Mhm.
like it's so much different than saying, I love you and I know God's best for your life. That's one option. Or, hey, what loves do you have? And what is God's best for your life? Like asking those different questions. It's gonna have a different outcome. Yeah.
Well, that's right. And uh, if if you sense a son or daughter that is open to God's direction,
Hmm.
then you're on the same part of the team and getting them equipped.
Yeah.
And that it helps you become a good steward of the resources that God has given you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, Dad, I love that you wear numerous hats. And now you have all adult children who
Mhm.
have launched off in different areas in different states, and now you've got grandkids. How fun is that?
It's wonderful.
Yeah. So what differences, as you've navigated having these conversations with teens, and then, sometimes you'll have these conversations with adult children of yours. And they're more of a mentoring relationship as opposed to a parenting relationship, for lack of better words to explain or use. So what thoughts do you have for someone who might be having conversations around purpose or anything else with their adult children?
Well, this character quality of desperation,
Yeah.
it just seems to keep coming back around. And an adult child is faced with similar choices,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even more choices.
Mm-hmm.
What's the best way for them to be obedient to God and to use their skills and gifts and talents in serving? Uh,
Yeah, with the
uh,
extra added pressure that now there are other people that are interested in the financial outcome of said results.
well, that might be true.
Yeah.
One one of the differences is that often an adult child is going to start the conversation
Mm,
on it,
yep.
but it comes back to the same sorts of things on that. I had a conversation like this with, well, actually, if I go back with in the past 2 months,
Yeah.
I've had this conversation with three of your brothers
Mm-hmm.
on that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I found that the more I listened, the more it benefited them. Okay,
Mm.
on
Oh, say
that.
that again for the
Yeah.
people in the back.
Oh my. Yeah.
Yeah. The more
Yeah.
you listen, the more it benefited the other person.
Yeah. That was really true on
Yeah.
it. And but even back like when they were younger, I still had the same opportunities to confirm and
Mm-hmm.
affirm what I was hearing.
Yeah.
And I also have the benefit of bringing back in decades of examples where I could say, you know what? I've seen you interested in that since you were just a young man,
Mm.
wanting to have a Coke stand,
Yeah.
maybe. And now we're talking about a new entrepreneurial adventure
Yeah.
on that. But the places I want to ask questions are, again, well, what skills and gifts and talents are you employing that you truly enjoy?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, who are you serving in this endeavor that you really care about on that? Those are two things. And then I want to introduce both head and heart.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think heart ties back to dreams, aspirations, the bigger things out there
Yeah.
uh, on it. Uh, that might be a hard thing. A head thing might be what's a wise way to get there. Okay, so
Mm. Mm-hmm.
it, the journey is similar. Where am I? Where am I going? How am I going to get there?
Mm-hmm.
whether it's an 18-year-old or a 14-year-old or a 40-year-old on it.
Yeah.
Helpful or not?
Super
Can
helpful. Yeah, I love it. And so I hear you saying keep showing up, keep being there, keep asking questions, and that a parent and a parent of older, young adults or grown adults that are totally completely launched where raising their own kids, a parent is in this divinely ordained position to be able to speak to their life trajectory over the long term. Like they can say, "Hey, I've seen this in your life from back when, and we saw it here in your teens, and here it is again," and can really speak and validate the work that God is doing in someone's life.
Well, I think there's parts of it there.
Yeah.
And, it is about life, it's about purpose, but it's also about planning, about
Mm-hmm.
wisely and obedient responding to what God shows you on
Yeah.
that. For encouragement as a parent or as a mentor or as a friend on it, uh, I think it's important for us to realize that where that person is right now is a great place to start. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
By the same token, your audience probably has some very successful young people
Mm-hmm.
and individuals that they're working on it. And I would add this: where they are right now would be a really sad place for them to end,
Hmm.
saying, "Hey, I think I'm successful enough. Where is my can to sit on?" It's it's more than that, because one of the last steps in the whole process is to team up with other people to accomplish an uncommon cause. Okay?
Hmm.
This is something truly life-changing for an audience you care about.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole synergy concept is that the sum of the total is more than the sum of the individual parts.
Mm-hmm.
So team up, life to life, join along with others in your church or in your industry or in your career field to accomplish the truly great things in life.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. So wherever you are is a great place to start. And don't let it just be a starting place. Keep moving forward. Yeah.
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah. I love that, Dad. What is, from your perspective, as you have had many, many, many relationships and mentoring relationships, what does having a resilient relationship look like for you? How would you define that? Or what does it look like in your life?
Again, you like the simple one
I do.
because you're trying to find something that somebody feels they need to be pursuing.
Hmm.
Okay. Uh, and while they are seeking that ring, that golden ring out there, the golden threads of their life, they give you a chance to pursue their heart.
Hmm.
And in I think that's the resilience in the relationship, is the ability to ask questions, to be able to offer insights and confirmations,
Mm-hmm.
and to be able to bring a faith element into it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Uh, if I asked you, so what are your skills and gifts and talents?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's different than asking a question. Excuse me. So, what are your skills, gifts, and talents that God has given you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Uh, if I was to ask you a question that says, so where do you want to work? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's a different question than uh, where would you delightfully serve and minister to a group of people that you care about?
Mm-hmm.
Who has God, who is God typically drawing you to, and who is he drawing others to you? So
Mm-hmm.
the questions there, as wise mentors, is we can formulate a question in a way that invites God into the picture. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Who is a significant person that God has brought into your life that has had an impact in the past?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. On that, can you tell me about it? can you help me understand what was going on there? Uh, As you look back, do you see that that made a difference in your life? Uh,
Hmm.
Was there a characteristic there that you'd like to duplicate? Okay. And again, you put it in the context of God brought somebody into your life that changed it.
Yeah.
What was he doing?
Hmm.
Okay.
I can see that. I love that you're asking questions that for a young person are very future focused. It's,
Hmm.
it's that what am I going to do with my life? They're also maybe just a tad desperate. And you are recognizing that these are heart-focused questions that give us an opportunity to go deeper and have those resilient heart connections.
How about this one for an adult? This is one that opens doors without being obvious.
Yeah.
Hey, what's the last thing that you want to do for the rest of your life? I was sitting in the barber shop. I asked that to my barber,
Yeah.
a very delightful gal. She knew immediately, without any thought,
Hmm.
what she didn't want to do for the rest of her life, you know?
Yeah.
And she didn't want to be engaged in selling and working in a department store.
Okay.
I was like, well, gosh, how do you know that? She goes,
Hmm.
because that's what I do right now when I'm not here cutting hair on that. And
Yeah.
now the door opened up. And the real question was not what were the elements of that, but hey, what would you change that would actually make it be something you would love to do
Yeah.
on that? And
Yeah.
again, we all know when something's missing in our life.
Hmm.
And the key parts we know we would love to bring there, whether it's people or activities or locations, etc.
Yeah. And by asking a question, by kicking off this conversation in a
Mm.
way that doesn't slam the door and remove the doorknob, you're doing that discovery, which is a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
right.
Yeah. Dad, I wonder if there's the slim possibility that there might be a mentor or a parent listening right now or watching, and they're thinking, man, I have missed my opportunity to have these types of conversations. My relationship with my kid isn't where we can go there. What thoughts or encouragement might you have for him or her?
Mm. I can tell you from experience that these questions will open up hurts in the past.
Hmm.
Okay. Uh, you're starting to you're starting to discuss hard issues,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll find that there's often pain in there for any number of reasons.
Sure.
And when I have found those, I have some triggers in my responses. But
Mm-hmm.
when I find that there's a hurt, I stop right there and apologize. I seek forgiveness,
Mm-hmm.
but I can do it now with greater understanding. I mean, imagine, hey,
Yeah.
I didn't realize how important that was to you.
Yeah.
That's another discovery question.
Mm-hmm.
What, when I'm asking all these things they've done, one additional question is, hey, what is there in the past that you've always wanted to do that we just couldn't do for some reason?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and now, now I can address it.
Yeah.
And it could have been that it was an oversight on my part.
Mm-hmm.
She or he is always asked to be involved in one area.
Mm-hmm.
And for whatever reason, my dad response was no.
Mm-hmm.
But now after some discussions, as I understand how important that was,
Yeah.
how that could have fit in and been way better than what we ever did
Mm.
on it. And and a response. Once I seek understanding, once
Mm-hmm.
I identify pain or trouble or hurt and apologize with that understanding in mind, there might be a proposal that I could bring up. I think,
Yeah.
it's not too late. We could still do that. We
Yeah.
could still work together in that capacity. Let's give
Mm.
it a shot. Would you like to? Would you like that? Is
Yeah.
that
Would you be
okay?
open to? I love it. I hear you
Helpful?
saying wherever you are is a great place to start.
Well,
Even
it's
in these
true.
types of imperfect, broken, messed up relationships that we all have. Wherever you are is a great place to start. And that for even those hard conversations, there's grace. And for those of you that are listening, I just want to say, like, as someone on the recipient end of so many of these good conversations, I love, Dad, that you're not just making up these answers, that you're not just pulling the easy answer or the spiritual answer out of a textbook and sharing that. This is something that I've seen you consistently live out in your
Mm.
life, in the daily conversations, in the really hard ones that have some tears or emotions or hurt feelings. I've seen you model what does it look like to humbly seek to connect as opposed to pridefully stay on the same track all the time. And you've lived that day in and day out, and I'm really grateful for it.
Mm. The whole process starts with a surrender
Mm-hmm.
to God's plan on
Mm-hmm.
that. Then comes the discoveries, then comes the equipping
Yeah.
on it,
Yeah.
then comes engaging in life to life ministry and service.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I
and,
love it. So, wise words to the mentor who might think that right now would be a hard time to start, but there's beautiful opportunity there. I wonder, Dad, I'm going to imagine that maybe there's a young adult listening or a grown adult listening that wishes they had a mentor like this. I just had a conversation on Monday, and it was about asking questions.
hmm,
And as I was speaking to the producer of this conversation, he was looking over a few of these questions. I mean, we were going to talk about like
hmm,
like how you can have some tips for some hard conversations. And, as he's going through it, he's a grown adult and he said, "Man, I wish my parents would ask me these questions."
hmm,
And that was his response
hmm,
there, even as a 30-something-year-old, well into his successful career, wanting
hmm,
to have a mentor come and ask him questions. So,
hmm,
can you speak to the young adult listening that wishes they had a mentor like this, wishes they had a dad like this, someone who would ask them questions and invest in them, but they don't feel like they have that? What thoughts might you have for him or her?
these questions are questions that each one of us could sit down and ask ourselves.
Hmm.
And we could get our own yellow pad. In fact,
Yep.
some of them could even use their computers, laptops, probably.
What?
But the same process. Okay, what was I doing? What am
Uh-huh.
I doing? Who is there?
Yeah.
What's going on? What are the elements that I love? What's missing on that?
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing. We as an individual are looking for this golden thread.
Yeah.
But the hard part is we've been there all along and we've missed it up to this point,
Mm-hmm.
quite likely. I would say a mentor is looking for a good return on their time.
Mm-hmm.
And if you showed up to a mentor with a blank sheet of paper and said, "Hey, will you help me figure out what to do with the rest of my life?"
Mm-hmm.
That could look scary to the guy.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, well, I'm kind of busy doing that for myself.
Sure.
But if you had worked through a series of questions yourselves and you
Yeah.
came down and said, "Man, I have got some things here that I'm really passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't have enough wisdom and work or enough service opportunities or ministry to
Yeah.
know how it
Or
all
I need
fits
another
together."
perspective, or can I bounce this off of you and get your perspective on it? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So you want to find somebody that does love you and that does know you on it. And if you've got those, a
Mm-hmm.
person that knows you best and loves you most,
Yeah.
they will accept an invitation, especially when you've done some work on it, and they'll
Mm-hmm.
be able to take your insights and take them farther.
Yeah.
And they can confirm the things that you see and hear yourself saying. So
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Yeah.
do some work
Mm-hmm.
and then pray, because the prayer, if I was going to offer to you, it's pray before, pray during and pray afterwards.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
step out in obedience
Mm-hmm.
on it.
Mm-hmm.
But
I love it. Wise words. And I found, I wonder if you would agree with this, Dad. I found that there are those types of conversations where you're going to want to show up and you've thought through these really, like, you've done the hard work of thinking through them, but they're really big life things, really big, broad things. And then there are other mentoring conversations that are more toward career, more toward family, more toward spiritual development. And sometimes starting the conversation in a smaller category that's just as focused and intentional is a great way to get the conversation going and then build that relationship and grow from there.
I think that's really good. You might think of that or call it discipleship
You
in a
would call it
way.
discipleship. It
Okay.
sure sounds like it.
On that. Uh,
Yeah.
and I think we have two very broad areas.
Uh-huh.
One is in being who we are, and the other one doing maybe what we're called to do. So there's being and there's doing. If I was going to focus on being, I would look at individual life roles on there. Who am I as a person? Okay. Well, if you could define it as loving God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and then genuinely loving others, right there, you could be pretty busy deciding how to do that. Maybe it's as a provider, okay, using, and here in reference to what we've been talking about, again, hey, I've got all these skills, gifts, and talents that I'd love to put together to serve a group of people, okay, and now that's not pushing you too far out there. Eventually, you're going to get to this idea as a communicator. Okay, I want to have a life-changing message of faith, hope, and love to share with somebody. I mean, when your skills, gifts, and talents are truly employed to help somebody in a loving fashion, they're going to come back and invite you in to speak into their life. It's like, why? There is a difference about you that I want to know more about. And they will invite you. You will have earned the right to a hearing. And that's a great time to change and share an important life-changing message. But you need to have one.
Yeah.
And
yeah, exactly. And so thinking through in these categories, and what that is. And so, yeah, so if a young person is looking for mentoring, looking for discipleship, start by looking in those areas and start the conversation. I love it.
I think that's good. I think it would work. It would work with me for sure.
Yes, it's true, especially if it involves breakfast or coffee.
Yeah, or both.
Or both, even better. It's true. Yeah. It's true. Well, Dad, how do we connect with you?
Well, I suppose they can pick up your question, but I think it's in the back of your book, isn't it?
It's true.
About
yeah.
Life Purpose Planning, ORG.
Yep.
And there are tons of tools in there. There's all these questions. We don't have secrets. You're welcome to everything we know. So
so check out lifepurposeplanning.org, which is the online home of a course that helps a young person or not so young person walk through these questions. They can do it in collaboration with a mentor, and they can do it online, or they can do it through a print book. So that would be a great way to connect and stay in touch. Let's see here, not to put you on the spot, but do you have like a fun story to end?
Well, I can remember a walk with you.
Yeah.
That was very important. And again, I remember right. We simply set some time apart, and I think we just went on a walk together.
Yeah.
And we started around a track, and we started down these questions. And if I remember the questions now that opened the most insight into what God was doing in your life, it was, so what do you want to do in the future? If God allowed, if you were equipped, if finances weren't an issue on that, what would you like to do? And you mentioned something, and my follow-up question was, hey, what would be the best possible outcome of your involvement in that? Okay. And that began to open the most doors because that's where the golden thread was hidden at.
Yeah, it's the fun what if. Like what
right.
if? Yeah.
That's right. But I also knew the priority when I followed up with the question, well, what if you couldn't do that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, the whole process of these communications is to bring a mentor or a parent or me or you to realize, hey, that created a response. Sometimes a young person I've sat with would stand up. Sometimes they start talking faster. Sometimes they started crying. In your case, I think you stopped walking after what, 5 or 6 laps of walking around?
The miles, yes.
That's right. And the question was, because I had asked, well, what if you couldn't write? And I recall you stopping and go, what do you mean I couldn't write? How can I not write? That opened up the door, and that was a nice one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like that in that process where all of us, like it's what it is to be human in so many ways. Like, what is that thing that I cannot not do? And what does that look like? And so, yeah, having these mentoring conversations that help other people unpack that or ourselves unpack that. That's a beautiful thing.
This has been a beautiful one. Thank you.
This has been. Yes, thank you. The next
time
time we'll do it over breakfast and coffee. Thanks, Dad.
I can't wait. Thank you so much. And I love you.
Love you back.